Hey guys, how is everybody this morning? I hope everybody's doing well. I know yesterday we talked a lot about, station 5 and how to take those positive actions. So if anybody, thanks Livia. Yes, new haircut indeed. I'm kind of getting used to this whole rocker chick thing I kind of went with, but it's good. I'm just gonna get, I every time I cut bangs, I think, why did I cut bangs? Because they're kind of getting your eyes and start to drive me crazy. I'm glad you guys like it though. We'll see how long it lasts. Thank you though. I appreciate it. It's definitely kind of trying to get used to the whole choppy situation here. So, but you know what? This is the whole point, right? We try new things. We see how we like it. This is the thing, right? This is life. You try new things. Okay. See, that's going to drive me crazy. I'm going to go ahead and move that over there. Okay. All right. So let's talk. So yesterday, if anybody did their action plan, I haven't had bangs since 4th grade. I know I had bangs a while ago and I actually did like them. I had kind of sometimes I've had long bangs. I've done these choppy bangs before. I just haven't done it in a long time. And when you wake up in the morning, I forgot how wacky they are. They're sort of everywhere. Whereas with my hair not cut like that, it's just sort of, it's not that disorganized in the morning. And so, yeah, it's just, it's a process. It's good. It's good. You need to try. Sometimes it's so good to put yourself out of your comfort zone, try some new things and see how you like it. And I actually do like it. I like my teal that I did underneath here, which is my little pop of color. I've done purple previously and I kind of like the teal because that is actually my favorite color. So, although apparently it's the hardest one to get out of your hair, but we'll worry about that later. So anyways, I'm so glad to see you guys. So if anybody did do the action plan for any portion of your life, and again, you can actually do it for, and I didn't really mention that yesterday, but you can do it for each station even if you want to. So, you can take a look at each station and see what kinds of goals or dreams or actions do you have for that area, and then do that same thing of you're moving towards it or you're moving away from it, or towards the goal that you don't necessarily want to have materialize. That one, honestly, you guys, even if you can take some time to do it this weekend, is a really powerful exercise. It's going to help you so much in being able to actualize and make those positive decisions. In station 6, we are going to talk about decision making made easy, is what I call it. And we're really going to take that moment, and I'm going to teach you a practice I use to be able to connect that mental intuition that we all have with our bodies to tell us which direction we should go. And it's honestly one of those fail-safe ones. I don't think we're going to get to it till tomorrow, which is okay. You can do it as well then over the weekend, just because of where it is in the process of talking about station 6. However, that's going to be something that can definitely go hand in hand with those action plans as well. Okay. So today, I think what I'm going to do is, I didn't realize it was so hard to see me, or that I wasn't on screen when I had the book up. I was really having the book up just to give you guys page references. If something as I was talking kind of gave you an aha moment, that you could go to that page. So what I think I'll do is, I'm just going to talk about station 6. And I'll glance, I have it up over to the side, and I can glance at what page it is that I'm kind of talking about at that moment in time. So if you need that reference point, we can definitely do that. Okay, so station 6, one of the things I do want to talk about is, and I put it up in the group. So station 6 is really all about our mental creativity and our intuition. So maybe in the chat, if you guys want to tell me, do you feel like an intuitive person? Do you think you have intuition? I would love to see that. Livia, yeah, I would say yes. Oh, and Andrea has the Zoom link. Yay, glad you're there. I don't know why were you not getting the Zoom link, I wonder. Yes, Joan, yes, intuitive. Okay. You're making me laugh, Joan. I haven't had bangs since work. I know, I haven't had bangs in years, and I'm woo. Yes, for sure, but sometimes I second guess it. Right. And we all do. I'm just going to tell you, I literally, this is my work. When I work with people on the healing side of things that I do, that is very much sort of an intuitive or medical intuitive, along with the methodology, the process I created. But it is very intuitive, the way that I put it together. And even I second guess myself. I mean, there's been times when I have to, I'm about to open my mouth and tell somebody something on a particular health issue that they have. And I'm like, oh God, I hope I'm not wrong, because it's like I'm dropping kind of a truth bomb. And I got to be honest, like when you finally put it out there, you realize you're not wrong. Your intuition is probably the strongest guide. So we will be working more in station 6 on making sure that you do have that additional connection. Yeah, Livia, your intuition is going for others and not for me, as I'm afraid most of the time. Yeah, the problem is that things like stress and fear certainly do get in the way. And stress and fear, they're obviously emotions that we feel in our heart, but they can also be something that becomes a mental stress, a mental fear, where we're in hypervigilant mode, which is one of the station 6 things, where a lot of times when I see people that are hypervigilant, they're usually empaths who have learned because of family circumstances that they have to be constantly assessing every possible outcome, every possible thing in a situation. They go into a grocery store, a room. I just had a client of mine who's an empath. She actually should be on a plane right now. And I had to work with her on like making sure that we were able to give her some like shielding, some other things before she got on the plane, because a plane is a majorly hypervigilant area for an empath. But a lot of that hypervigilance, while we're feeling it in our bodies and in our guts as well, a lot of it's also that automatic computer-like, you're just kind of doing, there's a show, It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, if anybody's watched it. It's really intense. I can watch like one at a time, but it's really brilliant writing. But the one guy always makes me laugh because he says he does ocular pat downs on people, right? He does like when he sees somebody, he's like deciding if that person's a threat or not. And I think that's one of the best ways of describing empathic hypervigilance that I've ever heard. It's like we do maybe not such an ocular pat down, but like an intuitive pat down all the time. And I don't know if anybody else feels that way when you walk in. I know right now, like living in the United States, we have a lot of gun issues. And I know that I do intuitive pat downs when I'm walking into like Targets and things like that, of like, okay, is everybody around me cool? Like, we don't turn it off. So that hypervigilance can come in this area as well, where it's a station 6, like always turned on, always trying to assess things. And as you can imagine, that mental stress of doing that and carrying that and computing that all the time and not putting it down can be really a lot. It can be really a lot. So let's talk. So let me see. So I want to just go through, and I kind of put up in the thing, again, decision making is here, fear of making the wrong decision or taking the wrong path. So you ruminate or you keep looking for more information, right? Sometimes I will have clients that have station 6 issues that have that unwillingness to self-evaluate. Like they just don't want to look. It's almost like an ostrich putting their head in the sand, like, oh, if I don't look at it, it's not happening, right? It's like you're not willing to actually self-evaluate, okay? If you see people that are micromanaging or becoming a control freak on situations, that is big time station 6. That is feeling they have no intuitive trust that other people are going to be able to pull things off, and they go into like that's another hypervigilance, hyper control mode, right? So if you have people, I used to actually teach the flow method for corporations, and it was always kind of fun because when I went into a corporation, they would take the test, and it was interesting because when I talk about micromanagers and things like that, you could see some of the employees kind of like doing the like side glance, like, yeah, that manager right there. I was like, okay, we got a station 6 issue right there. So that can happen quite a bit, right? We can go into that mode where we're almost like victim mode. So if you or someone in your life, is in victim mode, it's never their fault. They couldn't do anything. They couldn't come up with a solution. Poor them. That can very much be a station 6 issue. This is where also station 6 being off, again, unfortunately, you can't really change people like this, but narcissists have big time station 6 issues. It's usually station 6 and station 3 because it's like who they believe they are and the facade and so forth. So that's where they can get into, like, sometimes you have narcissists that are like victims, even though they're not the victim, like they cause the chaos and then they're, oh, poor me, I'm the victim, and they're not at all. We've seen that a lot. We've seen that on the national scale as well. Okay, so also, you'll see extreme attachment issues, okay? What that means is I will have people that they come to me and I work with that in order to heal, they must detach from toxic situations, whether it's toxic people, toxic job situations, toxic family situations, a living situation that's not good. And if they show up with high in station 6, I know we're going to have some difficulty in them being willing to actually detach from those issues. Okay. And what it is it's like that fear that if you don't stay attached to this, nothing else is going to come forward. And the final thing I want to point out is station 6 will also really show up if you feel like you're very stuck in a rut, like you just don't, you're unable to think in new ways. You're very, very, very like, if you see some people that are very like black and white, cut and dry, unwilling to look at anyone else's perspective, that's usually a station 6 issue. That's all up in here. And that total resistance to any kind of change. Like I have people in my life that, one person in particular, that they it's a long story, but they tried to change churches where they were going. And the other church, in my opinion, was as conservative as the prior one, which is fine for her. That's for her. But they had musical instruments instead of, like, I guess at the other one, they just sang without musical instruments. And oh my God, like everything else was almost exactly the same, but she could not have that little change, right? It was just like freak her out. Now there's some underlying issues as to why that happens, but that's what I'm talking about. You'll have a situation if you feel like you can't allow any change in your life, or you feel really stuck in bringing change in. That's station 6, right? So you're going to be looking at station 6 body parts are kind of anything sort of up here. So you've got your eyes, your forehead, obviously your brain, the pineal gland and the pituitary glands, your forehead, temples. Ears is also station 6, as is nose, which is why if you're feeling super stuck, you'll get sinus infections. I just had a client the other day. It's usually something right in front of your face that's making you feel very stuck, and you'll get sinus infections here. And then the skin of the nose, cheeks, forehead, and ears. So any of this skin up here. I've had clients that one guy had this really, really severe red rash right here. And it was because he'd done a ton of training and felt that he should have been in line for this really good promotion. And then the promotion was given to someone else. Okay. So he had that anger. And that anger was literally bubbling out of his station 6. Okay. It was showing up as this red, bumpy, itchy rash. And Andrea, let's see, sometimes having good intuition and telling people this and that can be a bad thing. True. Okay. So I don't use the intuition with everybody, just my family and close friends. Yeah. Actually, and I'm not sure if it's Andrea or Andrea. So if you can tell me if I'm saying it right. Yeah. Okay. So totally. That one is a very good point. So we can have intuitive hits, okay? And those intuitive hits, especially if you're an empathic person, I get them all the time. It sounds like Joan was saying, she's getting like that ocular pat, like that constant. And so the problem is a lot of times, okay, thanks Ian. And it's the problem is a lot of times because we don't know how to turn it on or off, we feel that we have to solve everyone else's problems, or we have to tell that person whatever the intuitive hit was. This will burn you out. And it will also tick people off sometimes. Now, sometimes you should tell that person that. There's definitely times where you're like, I'm worried about this, and I think this is just not going to go the right direction. But so one thing I might recommend to you, if this is something that is a really hard thing for you, there's I created this little 5-day program for empaths, for literally like how to turn it on and off, how to control the intuitive nature, how to control the empathic hits, how to stop being so hypervigilant all the time. Even as I say, I do a little intuitive, pat down as I'm going through places, but I'm conscious of it and I know how to turn that back off. And the most important with what we're just talking about now is something I developed that's called the 4 A's of awareness. And what that teaches you as an empath, an intuitive empath, which we all are if you're an empath. Actually, everyone's intuitive, just empaths are kind of tuned at a different level. So what that teaches you is to be aware of where it's coming in from. If you're picking up other people's emotions, if you're getting intuitive hits about it, to assess basically the situation a little bit, and then to figure out, are you supposed to act on your intuitive hit? Okay. And you're going to get a yes or no using basically this process. You kind of get a yes or no hit. And then you either act, which, once we get that understanding, we should act, then we should immediately take action because it reinforces it inside us. It lets our intuition know, okay, I'm listening. Or do we detach from the situation? Because honestly, it's really hard, but we aren't always meant to actually act on every single thing we get. And that's where, if you've been tuned into hypervigilance for a long time, we don't know how to sort that out. And this was the process I literally developed for myself, because I was like, I was on all the time. And then I would end up in bed, like over the weekend, just unable to even take in any more sensory information, right? And so now I can walk through some place and think, okay, yeah, that person had a really big fight today. I don't need to acknowledge that, right? I know where it's coming from. It's not me. It's not my mood changing. My mood was changing, but it's not because of something internal. It's because of this external thing. So if you are interested in that, it's only $37. I made it really, let me put that in. I made it really inexpensive because I just want empaths to have those tools. I will say, people have, in the first hour, they're like, it's life changing. Now, some of that you guys have already gotten some pieces of this in here, just because I always overdeliver. I would try to overdeliver. So you guys have already gotten some of the things. But there are some pieces in there that I'm very, very proud of, that are really life-changing for empaths when you are feeling really super overwhelmed. So, okay. So thank you guys so much for so many answers. That's so good. That's something that, I don't know if anybody would be interested in that, but I do like a mini 1-hour course on how to increase your intuition. And that is something that I could offer if you guys are interested. That one is one I personally love, because everybody, I feel like, can benefit from it. But if you're already an intuitive person, you can benefit, I feel like, even more. Okay, so let's keep moving on, because I know we're already at 20 minutes in, but okay. So the first thing we want to talk about is, and I think all of you, because you've been here and you are actively doing this program with me, which I'm very proud of you and very grateful for every single one of you to be in here. Oh, great, Donna, thank you. And so the first thing is, I want you to take a moment and acknowledge that you are literally right in this moment co-creating. We are co-creating. I'm co-creating with you. Your mental intuition, your mental abilities, your mind, your brain is networking right now, creating neural pathways, tuning into things. Okay. Literally, the particle detector, the life detector is being turned on, and we are all creating this experience. And indeed, you're creating your own experiences in the world, right? Based on that. So the first thing I want you to acknowledge as we move into station 6 is, not only do you have this co-creative power, but that you are actively choosing to now use it in the most conscious ways you can. Okay? Meaning that you are not going to deny that this is how you can use this power, that your beliefs have impact on your own life and the lives of everyone, every living creature in this world. Okay, we have to start being willing to stand up and say, I'm taking full responsibility for the quality of my life. That does not mean that if things happen to you that are profoundly difficult, that are abusive situations, that, dear God, you're caught in a war, right? Those are things that, again, these are collective things that sometimes we end up in a situation like that. Even within those situations, we can find ways to consciously take responsibility for how the parts that we can control and change, which is really what we're doing in this program. Okay, so that is one big one to think about, is actually consciously using that power. That also means that you have to be willing to assess your beliefs, which I think you all are, because you're here. Assess your beliefs. You're willing to question your beliefs. You're willing to listen to other people's perspectives. Again, if they're hate-filled perspectives, I am not going to say that you should listen to that or entertain it. Okay, for me, again, that's up to everybody. For me, there is a line, okay, where we can have differences of opinions and thoughts and things, but if it's something that's inherently hateful or harmful to another person, I draw the line that that's not a perspective I'm really willing to entertain. But this way, I want you to think about the fact that you've got to be willing to say, okay, I have this belief, and this has been true for me for my whole life, but maybe it's not fully true. Maybe there is something else, or maybe there's a this is true and right? There's a little more that I can learn about that particular thing, okay? And the reason for that is because when we clench so tightly to what we believe is the truth and the only truth, then that's the only life you can create, okay? And you can create that life if you want to. Like, certainly there are lots of people in this world that cling to very severe ways of thought, and they do create that life. And I don't know, maybe they're happy. Some people aren't, some people are. But if you want to shift your life, you must be willing to go, okay, well, this is what I believe, but let me question it a little bit. Let me see what else is there, right? And especially this is true, you guys, for beliefs that you figure out are limiting you. Maybe you grew up with no money and you feel like, well, I'll never have money. Is that true? No, you can literally look up, Google being what Google is now, we can look up and say people who grew up in poverty that are famous now or wealthy now. And I am certain you would find literally 1,000 pages of inspirational biography stories of people who grew up poor and are now living an abundant and wealthy life. Okay, so it's not true that you always will be. Okay, the next thing is that we have to, within this, we have to be willing, in taking our responsibility for ourselves, to assess where in life you feel like you're a victim. Okay, and are you using that victimhood to keep you stuck? Okay, so sometimes, and not to say again, if something really bad has happened to you, okay, that of course you may feel like a victim. However, as we talked about in station 3, it can become basically sort of an identity label. And when we go to station 6, it can become something that's actually blocking any other positive experiences to come to you. So if you feel like there's somebody in my life that he's always saying, I have I got a black cloud chasing me around. Oh, it's always this. And honestly, no, honestly, be truthful, he makes some bad decisions too. But oh, it's always anything. He's literally looking for the proof that he has bad luck. And do you know what he finds? Proof that he has bad luck, right? But he also uses that perspective to get pity. And there's power in pity sometimes, again. And so that's where I want you to assess, are you feeling that way when difficult or bad things happen to you? And if you are, how can you then re-empower yourself to say, well, okay, that bad thing happened, but here's what I'm going to learn from it, right? Because literally anything in life, any improvement in life, there's been dozens, if not hundreds, if not more failures that someone could have looked at as bad luck or I suck, poor me kind of thing. If they had stopped there, Thomas Edison and the light bulb comes to mind, right? I think he had 3,000 prototypes or something. 3,000 quote unquote failures. And a news reporter at one point, after he did discover, got the light bulb to work, said, how do you feel having that many failures? He's like, well, they weren't failures. I learned 3,000 times how not to do this, right? See the perspective shift there? Right? That's a big perspective shift of, instead of seeing it as a failure, I have just learned one way to not do it that way. Okay. So let me see here. And Joan, I say all good is coming from this. Yeah. Yep. Love it. Again, guys, let me just say, so we've talked about station 4. You're allowed to say something sucks. There are times in life, believe me, when, things they suck. Bad things happen. We're not, it's not feeling good. It's not, and it's okay. In fact, not just okay. It's important to acknowledge that it sucks and you're upset, you're sad, you're, mad, whatever it is, and to get that part of it out of you. Express the emotion, let it out. Okay. When I talk about this, I never, never, never want you to deny the reality of something in your life is not good. Okay. If it's not good, it's not good. It's okay to say it's not good. Okay. It's okay to be sad about it. It's okay to be angry about it. But then we move beyond it and go, okay, that sucks. I want to change it. Now what do I do? Okay. And that's where that is. It's I'm not stuck here. This is a sucky situation. And sometimes it's going to happen. You're going to feel I've had moments in my life, guys, where I felt broken and did not know what the next thing was going to be. I have, and we all have. And sometimes you just have to pause, acknowledge that you feel broken, and give yourself that space to heal from that. And then suddenly that's when your intuition and this mental stuff in station 6 starts to kick back in. Your gut instinct starts to kick back in, and you start seeing that path forward. The main thing is not to get stuck in that moment. Okay, so let me see. That's page, if any of that resonates, that's page, let me look over here. 390, where am I? 393-ish? Yeah, 393-ish. You may see people, I don't know if anybody has people like that in their life that are always in victim mode. I definitely do. And so it can be really hard. Speaking of intuition, especially the work that I do, I have such a hard time sometimes with like the victim mentality and like trying to tell somebody, well, you do have, I just actually was talking to somebody the other day about that. Like you do have options. You're saying you don't have options, but you do have options. They may not all be options you want, but you have options. Okay, then the final thing we're going to do today, and I know we're already at 30 minutes, but hopefully this is helpful today. Okay, the final thing we're going to do today is talking about being able to be detached from things. So one of the things that, as I said at the beginning, can really happen as we're working in station 6 and as you're thinking about changing things in your life. Once you apply the flow method and you start to shift these things, you're going to see some things in your life that aren't in your matching frequency where you're up leveling. They're going to fall by the wayside. And that can be relationships. It can be physical things. It can be something about you changes radically. It can be a job that changes. It can be friendships that change, like that. It can be lovers, spouses, partners, okay? Because the thing is, once we shift our frequency, again, like that radio signal, once we shift it, it's shifted. You can't tune into the same things anymore. And so either the things in your life are going to up level with you, or some of them may shift or may float away from you to realign you to what you desire, okay? This can be a very, very hard process. And in station 6, one of the things to look at is how mentally attached are you to some of the things in your life? If you lost some of those things, okay, how would you feel? Would that be something that would stop you from continuing to move forward in manifesting what you really desire, right? Would you in fact, even asking yourself now, like, am I kind of only half going for manifesting my dream life because I'm so afraid of losing things? I will say that most of the time, if you have great relationships right now, those won't go out the door. Have I had relationships that needed to fade back into the collective unconscious that have, moved on from that point? Yes. Yeah, I have. Absolutely. And working on manifesting some things. I've definitely lost relationships that I felt were important to me in terms of friendships and things like that. But then when I looked at them, it wasn't the same frequency that I was up leveling to. It really wasn't. It was like me giving, and that person taking. Well, if I'm saying I'm up leveling to a situation and I want to up level where I'm receiving as much as I'm giving out, well, that relationship's not going to make that, it's not going to make that up level, is it? Because it's not, and that doesn't mean you don't grieve maybe what you've lost, because it's still hard, but you've got to be willing to allow that to move forward. Okay. This is the same thing for any of those things. If there's areas that you feel like you're really, like my dad, who I adore, my dad tends to get very station 6-y, but he tends to get super attached to cars. Well, he's attached to everything. He's a very sentimental person, which is great. That's actually a very good quality about him. But especially being a man, he has no problem expressing his sentimentality. However, trying to get him, he'll have a car that he knows he needs to move to a new car. Like, he knows he does. But trying to get that man to detach from this car, because he's so attached to he has a hard time with change, and he's so attached, he's almost personified the car, right? Even though we have this really awesome car, like my husband talked him into like going and looking at this absolutely stunning car, so beautiful. And it was like marked down crazy because I think it was the last one, who knows? It was a beautiful car. And it was definitely an up level for my dad on his cars. But oh my God, the rumination, the difficulty of, you could clearly see this was an up level, but for my dad, letting go of that old thing, oh my goodness, it took, I think it took my mom actually just like writing a check and putting it down on the new car and like kind of almost forcing him. And now, of course, then he got in that car and he's like, oh, it's my favorite car I've ever had, you know, whatever. He up leveled and really saw the thing. So that's the same kind of thing that can happen to us. Okay, you guys. So what I want you to do, and especially if this is something that you feel like you have old beliefs that are stuck on you, or these things where you have a really hard time detaching because you're afraid you're going to lose something really vital to your life, in working on things, that is where, let me go back over here. Page 399 has some really good workbook questions where you can look at your core beliefs and actually look at what's frightening to change for you. Look at, you know, were you raised by really closed-minded people? If you were, that can cause you to have a lot of fears around changing that. Sorry, guys. That can definitely cause a lot of fears around you changing things. I will have people that stay stuck in certain situations because they're afraid of like, well, all these beliefs that I have that, you know, of what my family's going to think. So that's where station 6 and station 1 can kind of have a little bit of a connection. So if you have a 1 and a 6 in there, that may be something you want to take a look at. So that's on page 399. So I'll stop here. Tomorrow we are going to, tomorrow we're going to do a great exercise on detachment, how to actually detach from things in your life if that is something that's causing some issues for you, and be able to see that, you know, when we release some things, we actually, you know, we don't just release them and nothing's going to come in. We release those things to make space for these new and good things to come in. So we'll do a practice on that. We're going to do, let me see what else I have ahead. We're going to do, we're going to do some stuff on intuition tomorrow. We are going to, talk about detachment, not forcing things. And then I'm going to teach you my decision making made easy. And those are some things you can do over the weekend and really start looking at kind of every decision in your life. The cool thing about the decision making made easy is that I can literally, like, if I could see all of you guys and I saw you doing the decision making made easy as we do it, I'd be able to tell you which decision is the right one because your body actually will show it. So once I help you to tune into that and you become aware of it, it's something you can use for the rest of your life. I use it personally now all the time. Okay, so I think I will stop. Thanks. I know, isn't this cute? It's my little like kind of chakra scarf. I figured we're coming up here into 6 where all the, everything kind of comes together. Okay, so that's what we're going to talk about tomorrow. That's going to be that. And then early next week, we will do station 7, kind of midweek, just to kind of give you a game plan here. Midweek, we're going to take a look at, I'd like you guys to bring your flow factor results, and I'll be able to tell you even a little bit more in more detail how to kind of read those as an overall look. And then we're going to take a look at the reality type results and kind of fine tune even more your personal practices so that you have a really solid, action plan, transformation plan, manifestation plan that is very much designed around you individually. So just sending out tons of love to you guys. Again, I'm glad this one resonated. I will definitely look at doing that intuition. That's one of my favorite classes to teach. So maybe I'll do like a 5-day intuition thing. And so sending so much love to you guys. Thank you so much for being here. Let me know how these practices go. And tomorrow I'm excited to teach you these extra practices. I think for me, they make a substantial difference in my day-to-day life. Okay. So you'll feel so much more in the flow and in control of how things go in your life when you learn these, and they're very simple practices, but just very powerful. So I will see you guys tomorrow. Thank you all for being here. As always, sending out so much love to you, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.